financial independence is the way to go, where you can say, hey, you don't have to ask someone for vacation or time off or, work when your family's having fun. Like, you can design a life that you actually want to live and have that type of control. But it does take work to get there, but that freedom is definitely worth it.
This show is dedicated to helping you strengthen your family tree and live financially free. Thanks for being here today, everybody. Author Deacon Hayes is joining me today to talk about his new book, You Can Retire Early. We're going to review the ins and outs of how each and every one of us has the opportunity to win at the game of early retirement. Here's a little bit about Deacon. He's the founder of wellkeptwallet.com. This is a personal finance site dedicated to helping people make money, save money, and pay off debt. That sounds right up my alley. He's also a contributor for U.S. News and World Report, Investopedia, Clark Howard, and many other financial sites. So this guy is the real deal. Not only has he written a book about achieving financial independence, he and his family achieved financial independence, or FIRE, in their mid-30s. So get ready to be motivated to win, my friends. After our time with Deacon, we're highlighting another Money Master of the Week. But first up, let's learn from the financially independent author, Deacon Hayes. Welcome to the show, Deacon. How's it going today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Andy.
Excellent. You have a new book. Congratulations. That is awesome. I'm so excited for you and this release because it's a super interesting topic. Could you give us just a little bit of background on the inspiration for this new book?
Sure. So, the idea is, my wife and I, we paid off $52,000 of debt in 18 months, which was like a huge thing for us. But that gave me this kind of aha moment. Okay, like, we paid off all of our debt. What's next, right? So the next step was kind of financial independence, right? To be able to have enough resources to do what you want when you want. And so that's basically the idea of the book. It's You Can Retire Early. And it's really where people can map out a plan to achieve financial independence when they want it.
Very cool. So this was spawned from your own personal interest. At what point did you and your wife say, wow, early retirement sounds like something we want to do?
Yeah. So, what's interesting? So there's this FIRE community. So Financial Independence Retire Early, right, is the acronyms FIRE. And I'm really much more on the FI side than the RE side, So I'm much more on the have enough resources to do what I want, be productive. I like to work, right? But to be able to work when I want, if I want to. And so really, it was kind of probably a few years after paying off our debt, or we're paying down our house. We're like, well, once that's done, what do we do next? And so started looking at, okay, well, how could we create a lifestyle where we have more freedom? So where I can be flexible, if how many hours I work, if I have to drive any place, those type of things. And so we started designing a lifestyle that said, hey, we want to have that freedom, and that's important to us.
Excellent. And your wife was on board from day one? Didn't seem like there was any friction in your relationship? She was game, or how did that go?
It's interesting. So my wife is very much a W-2 personality, right? Like, she can work at the same place for the rest of her life, and she enjoys that. I'm very much like the risk taker. I want to go out there and make things happen, and there's going to be risk involved with that. So my wife, I think originally, before I quit my job as working the 9 to 5, she was reluctant. But that being said, I actually worked in a 100% commission job previous to my stable job, and so my wife had experienced the ability to make more money and the flexibility that came with that. So it was something that took some conversations and, hey, honey, this is going to be okay, and we have this track record, and we have this emergency fund. So it wasn't like this, like, hey, honey, I'm going to take all this risk and leverage everything. It was very much a calculated move to, okay, let's figure out how we can get there realistically.
I'd love to get a peek inside that first meeting with the two of you. Were you like preparing all the spreadsheets and the documentation and laying it out? How did it go?
Well, it's interesting. I think it's more gradual for us. So it's not like, hey, honey, I'm on fire, right? Like, or some people get that, like, they listen to a Mr. Money Mustache podcast and are like, okay, I'm going to do this, right? It was much like, hey, this is the next logical step, right? So just saying, hey, honey, this is realistic if we do these things, and we got to be on board. My wife was very much, as long as I'm not taking everything away from her, right? Like, you can't buy clothes ever again, and you can't eat out at all. Like, it's not like that at all. It's like, hey, honey, in order for us to be able to have the resources to have financial freedom and to buy a second home and do all these things, we're going to have to really tighten our budget when it comes to, our variable expenses. And so she was very much on board, because when we do goal setting, it's a team effort. It's not my dream. It's not my goals. It's our goals, right? So with that mentality, it makes it a lot easier for her to be on board. So I don't think she was as shocked.
What were some of the first steps that you guys took together as a couple then to move towards early retirement?
The first things were, doing the budget on a regular basis. So at first, when we were paying off our debt, we were meeting weekly, which was really good. It was kind of inspiring, and, saying, hey, this is working, and then as we got better at it, every 2 weeks and then once a month. And so really, having that as kind of a building block. And now we probably meet like quarterly. But we're in a different financial position now. But I definitely think when people are trying in the early stages, as often as you can meet and as focused you can stay on the goals, like we actually have right now, I think we have 3 different sheets on our fridge for different goals that we have, right? So it could be you want to pay off the house, right? So you put the total amount of your balance of your house, and then, as you pay it off, you fill it in, right? So it's this visual graphic of your debt going away. Or it could be you want to save up a certain amount of money into your retirement accounts or your individual brokerage accounts. And so you're filling it up as you're filling up your accounts, or your college savings for your kids. So really, we have a lot of things like that. Like, here are our goals and visuals to kind of keep us reminded, okay, this is where we want to go. And this is something that is on our mind on a regular basis. That's
a fun way to keep yourself inspired too, because you can have all these online spreadsheets and things like that, but if it's not in front of your face, you're not getting jacked up about it in the reality. So that's a fun way to do it. Very cool. So a big part of early retirement, like you said, is keeping those costs under control, and you can do that with a budget with your spouse. What were your monthly expenses around the time you guys said, hey, let's go for this early retirement? And then did you have to dial things back in order to hit it? How did that work for you guys?
So I'll say our scenario is probably not the most typical. So we did dial it back. But we actually have started spending more, which is kind of counterintuitive, right? And being is our income has significantly gone up, and so we proportionately we spend a lot less than we make. But everybody's situation is different. So really, I do recommend saying, okay, early on we said, okay, we'll go line by line on the budget. We'll say, is this expense necessary? If not, we're going to cut it, and if it is, can we make it smaller? Right? Doing those 2 things, we're able to reduce our budget drastically. Got rid of gym memberships, cable TV, just things that we weren't using or weren't really important to us. We figured out other ways, for, entertainment, it was Netflix. And for gym memberships, it was, I'm walking the mall that's close by. Right. So it was just figuring out ways that were more cost effective. And then on top of that, figuring out ways to make extra money. I think that's the component that a lot of people miss when they're trying to retire early. It's really figuring out okay, not only reducing the expenses, but how can I increase my income to get there that much faster? And that's the fun part for me, because it's creative. It's something that, you can set benchmarks and work towards, and it's fun in my opinion.
Yeah, because you can only reduce your expenses so much, right? But making money is the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the reality is there's some people that, could say, well, I want to come up with $1 million idea, and I'm going to go through a bunch of ideas until I get there, and then I'm going to raise money, and then I'm going to make it happen, And there's other people that are like, hey, I'm just going to make an extra $100 a month, every month. So $100 this month, $200 the next month, $300, whatever is reasonable for you. But that definitely makes it more achievable in a shorter period of time.
And you sort of have to weigh that happy wife, happy life thing as well. If you're like, hey, if I'm going to ask my wife to eliminate some shopping for $100, or I could figure out how to make another $100, then maybe it balances, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's huge, is that you have your significant other on the same page, that they're on board saying, whatever the sacrifice is going to be, it's something that they're willing to do. And if they're not, like you said, are you as the other part of the equation going to do what it takes to make the money, right? So, and that's my thing is I'd rather make the money than figure out how to like make life miserable, right?
Absolutely.
So that's my approach is, okay, I'm just going to figure out how to make significantly more so that, if we want a gym membership, we can have one.
Well, let's inspire some folks on the income side of things. What ways did you diversify your income outside of your 100% commission job to reach early retirement?
Yeah, the first thing I did was garage sale arbitrage. So, growing up, my grandma was an antique dealer, and I would watch her go buy like these antiques at yard sales, and then she'd sell them on eBay for like 1,000% profit. And I don't know anything about antiques, but that inspired me to say, okay, I know about electronics. So I would go to yard sales and I would scan stuff, anything with a barcode. So let's say there was a router for sale for $5, and I'm like, how much is Amazon selling this for? And the cheapest one is $50. I'm like, that's a pretty low risk, So I go and sell it within a couple of days on Amazon, make $40 after shipping, and then move on to the next thing, So that was an easy, like very low barrier to entry. Anybody with a smartphone can do that, I also got a second job delivering pizzas. I will tell you, though, that's not something I really recommend because it is trading dollars for hours. And it's usually, you're putting wear on your car. But for our goal for a short period of time, it was fun. It was something to do. But now I'm very much into passive income streams. So stuff that requires, one-time work that pays again and again and again. And so, things that we do are crowdfunded real estate, affiliate marketing, ad networks, for my website, Well Kept Wallet. And so we've kind of expanded beyond, kind of the pizza delivery and the garage sale arbitrage to stuff that's a little bit more passive.
Well, that's great. So some things like the garage sale arbitrage and the pizza delivery were when you and your wife were working on eliminating the debt in your lives, and then you found different ways to increase your income. Is that how it worked?
Yeah. So, I realized like, gosh, man, I can only deliver pizzas at night for so long, right? Eventually we were going to start a family, and I'm like, I need to be there when my family, to have dinner and that stuff. So it was really like, it was a short-term thing for, getting us set up and having a foundation. And then we just I researched other ways from there.
Excellent. Well, that's great. So, this book that you wrote, You Can Retire Early, is all about retiring early, right? Financial independence. So what do you see as the best advantages of early retirement to bring people over into the fire camp?
Yeah. So, the best thing is freedom, right? I remember I worked for this financial planning firm, and they wanted me, or I did all the trading for the firm. And so I had to work whenever the stock market was open. Well, one year we wanted to do a trip to Disneyland with my family, and right after Thanksgiving. And wouldn't you know, on Black Friday, the market's open for half a day. And so my boss was like, well, you're going to have to work on that Friday, And I'm like, well, I'm going to be in California. Like, well, you're going to have to work in your hotel room, And I'm like, really? And so here I am, my family's at Disneyland, and I'm in a hotel room with my laptop being like, I hate this. I wish I had the freedom to not have to do this, And so if people can resonate with that, they're like, well, financial independence is the way to go, where you can say, hey, you don't have to ask someone for vacation or time off or, work when your family's having fun. Like, you can design a life that you actually want to live and have that type of control. But it does take work to get there, but that freedom is definitely worth it.
We'll be back to the show in just a moment. 64% of Americans with children under 18 have no end-of-life documents in place, including a will. That is just too many people, in my opinion, that are leaving their children's future up to chance. Time and money are usually the biggest excuses for not completing your last will and testament. Tomorrow is taking care of both of those excuses today. Tomorrow's new simple app-based system helps you create your legal will for free. You download the app, you fill out your information and your end-of-life plans, and voila! You've got your family will taken care of quickly and easily. No more excuses, no more delays. Protect your family today with Tomorrow. Visit tomorrow.me/Andy and get your legal will made today for free. That's tomorrow.me/Andy. Are you a person that cares as much about your health as you do about your wealth? I have the perfect partner for you, everybody. Health IQ. Health IQ is an insurance company that helps health-conscious people like runners, cyclists, weightlifters, and even vegetarians get lower rates on their life insurance. Since physically active people have a 34% lower risk of all-cause mortality compared to the inactive folks, it makes sense. The more active you are, the healthier you are. It's just like saving money on your car insurance for being a good driver. Health IQ saves you money on your life insurance for living a health-conscious lifestyle. If you qualify, Health IQ can save you up to 33% on your life insurance. That is a sizable chunk of change, my friends. To see if you qualify and to support this show, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/MKM or mention the promo code MKM when you talk to your Health IQ agent. Let's jump back into our interview.
You mentioned financial independence is, I guess, as a term, is something you resonate more with than early retirement because you want to keep working and do things that you're passionate about. How has these new businesses that you've gone into, the crowdfunding real estate, the website, how has that allowed you to have the time freedom that you wanted originally?
Yeah, so one of the things that I want to be is location independent, meaning that I can be anywhere and work. And so, crowdfunded real estate is great because I don't actually have to manage the property, right? I could own something in, Alaska, and it's just going to pay a dividend, and I don't have to worry about it. So that's the great thing about crowdfunded real estate. The website's the same way. Literally, I could do that from anywhere in the world. And so those were things that really appealed to me where I said, hey, you know what? I don't have to be in a specific location. I can have that freedom, to be remote and collect paychecks from those things. And so that was kind of the criteria I used for vetting those type of investments.
I don't know how that could not seem appealing to anybody. It's so great.
Right.
That's so fun. I mean, you can choose the direction of your day, where you want to be physically and when you want to be. Very cool. Let's say I have a 9-to-5 right now that I really like and I feel completely fulfilled, right? Should I still consider early retirement?
It really depends. It's interesting. I would consider the financial independence side, right? Because I never want to tie my life to an employer, right? I mean, things happen. You have recessions. You have businesses. I actually worked for 2 businesses that went bankrupt, Blockbuster being one of them, right? So the reality is you don't want to put all your stock in an employer. So I definitely encourage people to start a plan for financial independence, whether it's that you want to have financial independence in 5 years or 25 years, right? You should start that plan now and figure out how you're going to get there.
That's a great point because even though you love your employer or you love what you do, anything could happen. We could get another 2009 and it's really not up to you even if you do like it, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, let's inspire some folks through some of the advice that you have in your book. I really appreciated going through it, by the way. A great read. It's literally the how-to on how to do this, guys. It's very exciting. So you talk about the importance of creating a why list in your book. Could you tell everybody what that is and why it's important?
Yeah, well, what happens is if you don't have a why, you're going to get there and you're going to say, what do I do with my time? What's my purpose? Like what it will be surprisingly boring and unfulfilling, right? So the why is going to guide you and say, okay, well, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to be able to travel the world. I want to be able to have a second home to get away in the summer. I want to be able to serve worthy causes, maybe volunteer at a nonprofit. So really having those whys will be the motivation to say, hey, I really am going to stick to this plan. I call it an ERP, early retirement plan. And so that's very important. And it's important to do with your spouse so that she's on the same page or he's on the same page and that you're doing it together and it's not just you driving the ship.
Great. So you need that motivation. And once you have the motivation, let's get down to some tactics. Of course, we're going to recommend the book for everybody, but let's get into some of the details of how. So we've talked about the why. Let's say I want to own my time because I want to give back in my community and I don't want to be strapped to a 9-to-5. I've got my why now. What's the first thing that I can do after I've met with my spouse and aligned our finances to start amassing this amount of money that we need in order to retire early? How do I go about that process, your ERP plan?
Yeah, so you create a personalized plan, and it all starts with a budget. And I'm sure you've talked about that 100 times, with your audience. But the idea is really just mapping out on paper where you are at currently, and then also, once you have your whys, understanding what those costs are involved, right? Like if you do want to travel the world, you need to set aside that money. If you want to buy a second home, you have to set aside that money, right? So you start to map out, okay, out of your surplus. So obviously, if you're going to retire early, you need to have more money, coming in each month than you're spending. So you have that surplus, and now you've got to allocate, where is that surplus going to go? X amount's going to go towards your investment accounts. X amount's going to go towards paying down your home. X amount's going to go to, a travel fund, right? And so really you're letting that personalized plan be funded by, the income that's coming in. And there's 3 different ways that you can actually plan for early retirement that most people retire early with. So it's either real estate, stock market, or entrepreneurship, and I'd say the most, track record proven method is the stock market, right? You could look back at the past 100 years and say, okay, if I invested, here's the type of return I could see, and here's how much I could take out, 4% safely and not really lose my principal. So really you determine which path is best for you, develop that personalized plan, and then start moving in that direction.
And it sounds like based on the plan that you chose, Deacon, you're kind of covering all 3 of those bases. Is that right?
That's right. So, I'm very heavily in the entrepreneurship, category, but I also do invest in real estate and the stock market as well. I'm a fan of the diversification because, if my business goes down, well, I've got income coming in from real estate and stock market as well. If stock market goes down, I've got, 2 other categories coming in. So I'm definitely a fan of multiple streams of income.
Let's help people understand the difference between investing in their tax-advantaged retirement accounts and then investing in the stock market for this purpose. Could you explain that a little bit so people understand?
Sure. So, traditionally people are going to, invest in their 401k, right? And the idea of that is, that's pre-tax money that you're going to pay taxes on later. But the challenges are, you really can't access it 100% until you're 59 and a half, let's say. And yes, there are backdoor Roth IRAs and all this complex stuff where you can, do conversions and all that. But the reality is if you want to retire early, you're going to want to have assets before 59 and a half typically. So you could look at an individual brokerage account where you could buy stocks and, index funds and things of that nature. And you could access that stuff, right away, right? Obviously you don't want to, but just so it's accessible and liquid so that you can use it when you want to retire early. And so that's the 2 different ways, right? Your traditional way of, 401k, IRAs, you access that at, a much later date versus an individual account where you can access it at any time, which gives you the liquidity to be able to get it when you want it.
Got it. So that's the difference, everybody. Make sure that we understand that. Yes, you could be saving really well with your workplace 401k, and that's great. Obviously, you need to do that and take advantage of any matches that might be available. But this is also doing the post-tax brokerage account in order to save up for early retirement. So that's a little bit of the difference. So thank you for going through that. Let's assume somebody's listening right now because I've had a chance to engage some of my listeners and understand their background, and I think this might be a good question that people might have. Let's assume somebody is listening right now and they're making 6 figures, but they're also spending 6 figures per year, and they're feeling a little deflated, knowing how much they would need to save in order to retire early. What would you say to them to inspire them that it's not too late?
Well, it's definitely not too late. I think the thing is really establishing that why, right? Like once that why becomes so strong, you don't care about spending $100,000 a year, right? Like you could live on $50,000 a year if the why was strong enough, right? So it really is like developing that why and then saying, okay, I'm going to go through and I'm going to create a plan. And so maybe it's not eliminating $50,000. Maybe it's eliminating $20,000, right? And then it's figuring out a way to come up with an extra $20,000 in income, right? By working extra hours, maybe starting a side business. So really there's hope for anybody at any age. It is a matter of developing that why and then mapping out a plan to get there. The reality is it's not easy per se because it does take work. But the reality is you could reap the benefits that a very small percentage of people will ever do, right? The fact to retire early, I don't even know what the percentage is, but I would imagine it's less than 5% of, civilization, right? So it is something that gives you a lot of freedom, a lot of time, a lot of opportunity that a lot of people don't have. And so, willing to be able to sacrifice to be able to have that, that's something that you got to make that determination. But like I said, at any age, at any income level, you can do that.
That's great, man. That helps people a lot. And I guess on the opposite end of the stick, people who aren't making that much money right now, and they're looking at this being like, wow, I have to amass a ton of money in order to make this happen. What advice would you have for that person?
Yeah, I would say that really getting more income, right? And studying, like, how can you get more income? Like, one book, I'm not a huge, I'm not going to say go out and read it, but one thing that I learned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad was, rich people know how to make their money work for them, right? They buy income producing assets. So it's figuring out, okay, you've been operating your life one way and you don't have any money, right? And so you have to learn a new way to operate your life and a new way to make money, right? So really, I encourage people to study people that know how to make money. Robert Kiyosaki was one. John Bogle, Warren Buffett. I love learning from people that are wealthy and learning their path to get there and say, hey, I could do that, or I could implement that principle. And so really that self-education is really what will propel you and get you to the next level.
Or for that matter, Deacon Hayes. He's got a great new book out too. Very cool. So, Deacon, just to inspire people, because this is a great story, and you've really done something incredible for you and your family. How old were you when you were able to make this a reality for you and your wife?
So it's debatable. So I'm saying 35 now. And the reality is like, so we make enough money above and beyond our expenses and will for the foreseeable future ever since I was 34. But because it's entrepreneurship heavy, I was always reluctant because, income can fluctuate, right? So you're saying, hey, yeah, I'm making this money now, but what about 6 months from now or a year from now? Now I feel like we've had a proven track record. We're making significant strides. Usually I use this 2 times revenue number to kind of give people a safety. So like, let's just say you need $5,000 a month net to live. Well, then you need to be making at least $10,000 net from your business to say, hey, this is a realistic thing. And we're making beyond that. So yeah, 35. And the reality is though, as Andy, I want to be honest, like we weren't there 5 years ago, right? Like it took, okay, no, I'm going to be serious about this. I'm going to reduce my expenses. I'm going to figure out ways to make extra money to get to that level, right? And it's that intentionality. It's surrounding yourself with people that believe that's a possibility. It's, putting the time into educating yourself, investing in your knowledge and understanding of how to get there. And so it is possible for average people. I would consider ourselves, somewhat average people. I was a wood flooring salesman and my wife was a high school teacher, like it's not like we were these rocket scientists, and doctors, right? So average people can do this if they put their mind to it.
That's great. And in 5 years, you were able to change that situation to where you are today. Congratulations, man. That's great news. Where can people find this book and buy it and learn more from you?
Yeah, the best place is wellkeptwallet.com/retire. And we're actually giving my course away for free, which is called Debt Free in 18 Months. It's a $97 course for free that basically shows people this is how we paid off our debt in 18 months. And really, it's about designing goals that you can achieve in a short period of time. And so they can find everything they want to know at wellkeptwallet.com/retire.
Well, that sounds like a great deal. I'm glad everybody's going to be able to take advantage of that. I'll check it out myself as well. Thank you so much, Deacon, for spending time with us. And congratulations on your book launch as well as your new early retired life.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate it.
Early retirement is a huge accomplishment. It's like running a marathon or becoming debt-free or losing 100 pounds. It requires focus, patience, and a whole lot of perseverance. Deacon shared some insights that I thought were worth repeating for all of us today. Number 1, budgeting helps create clarity. You guys have heard me talk about budgeting, my love for budgeting. If you lay out your numbers, what you're spending, what you're earning, it creates a whole new world for you. You start to get a grasp of where you are and how you can make a difference. Number 2, visualizing your goals can inspire you. I really liked how he brought up how you can create a visual representation of where you are on your journey, whether you're paying off debt or working your way through this financial independence track or just increasing your income. Visually seeing those goals somewhere in your house or in your office can really get you pumped. Number 3, increasing your income helps immensely. This is kind of a no-brainer, but I think people really think in this financial independence game that it's all about cutting the expenses, bringing it down, spending nothing, really decreasing things, eliminating all the joy out of your life. You can only do that so much. And income, on the other hand, the sky's the limit. So figuring out ways to make more money can help a ton in this early retirement financial independence game. Number 4, create your why list. I really liked this. I'm a big fan of putting your purpose out there and making sure that it is top of mind. He even said, he's come across some other people in the financial independence track that, if you don't have a reason that you've achieved financial independence, you're going to get there and say, now what? And this is a great exercise to do with your spouse and find out what your collective why is. Why would you be going down this track? Because it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to take a long time. So make sure you know the real reason you're doing it. Number 5, diversify your income streams. This was huge when Deacon said this, and it really hit home for me. And the three areas that he talked about were real estate for him, number 2, stock market, and then the last one, small business. I'm kind of hitting on all those right now with Nicole and I. We are saving up for our real estate fund, and we're hoping to pull the trigger on our first rental property by the end of the year. Stock market, we are playing a little bit more in a brokerage account. And then you guys are hearing my small biz right now. So I'm making a little bit of money, mostly just having fun and a really fun hobby. But at least I'm dabbling in these 3 areas. And that's me practicing number 5 here. So number 1, budgeting. Number 2, visualizing those goals. Number 3, increasing your income. Number 4, creating your why list. And then number 5, diversifying your income streams. Those will help you to make your way to financial independence and then early retirement if it's down for you. I mean, the idea of early retirement sounds pretty exciting to me. You get the autonomy to do what you want when you want, and then have that location independence that Deacon talked about. I thought that was really cool when he mentioned that. And I could definitely be up for some early retirement, but for me, I would need to be retiring to something. I would need to be moving towards something that I'm passionate about, a new career or a new hobby or a volunteer opportunity, just something that brings me joy, something that brings me purpose or gives me purpose for that matter. For now, though, I'm digging my job. It provides me a good income. It's excellent. It really has excellent benefits and a pretty solid work-life balance. I don't travel as much as I used to, and I get to spend a lot of time with my family. So it might not always be like this, though, and that's why financial independence is really interesting to me. My management situation could change at my office. I could personally make a huge error, and they could let me go. So I don't know. It's financial independence is a good backup, I think, for anybody to have. So for that reason, I think everybody should look into financial independence and, have it be something that can help you out. It can't hurt to have a backup plan, right? Now it's time to announce the Money Master of the Week. This segment is reserved for those of us who've had a big financial win in their lives recently. And this week, I want to honor my wife, Nicole. For the last 4 years, she's been a stay-at-home mom, dedicating her time, love, and some of her sanity to raising our 2 kids, Calvin and Zoe. I will be forever grateful for her sacrifice for the family. Now it is time for her to have a new chapter in her life. She's ready to pursue her passion and make some money while doing it. Nicole recently found a part-time job as a professional organizer. Yeah, I didn't even know that existed. Professional organizer. It's as if she sort of invented it, and then there was a job that was there. It was insane. I mean, it's as if she willed it into existence. But she's been organizing our home for quite a while. She's been doing it for friends and family, and she just pursued it. And made it come to life. So she'll be helping organize other people's homes and offices through her new company. And it's absolutely perfect for her. She loves this whole minimalism thing. She loves order. She loves working with her hands. In her previous life, she was, at a desk, typing emails, having phone calls, things like that. And she felt that calling to kind of do something with her hands and really create something. So she's doing that. And it's a really cathartic activity, I think, both for her and for the people she's helping to really create that order and organize. So she's still going to be able to spend some time with our kids because she'll be logging like 10 to 20 hours a week. And this is going to give me some special bonding time with Zoe and Calvin too on the weekends. So I'm really excited for her. And she's only been at it for a couple days, but she's already loving it. And I love seeing the smile on her face where it feels like she's really pursued her passion and she's happy. And it makes me happy. So I'm really proud of her. And, she went out there and found it. It's super cool. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Pursue your passion and make it come to life. It's a really inspiring moment for me. And I think my kids are watching her too. So if you live in southeastern Michigan and you want to check out Nicole's new company for organization services, go to allsortedout.net. That's allsortedout.net. Nicole, thank you for being my inspiration and the love of my life. And congratulations for being our Money Master of the Week. Do you have a recent financial victory that you want to share on the show? I would love to hear from you. Just shoot me an email at andy@marriagekidsandmoney.com or reach out to me and leave a voicemail at marriagekidsandmoney.com/voicemail. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for checking it out. You'll find all the links and resources for today's show at marriagekidsandmoney.com/session 78. Yeah, 78. We're moving right along. Before we go, I wanted to let all our new listeners know that I have a free guide that encapsulates all of the interviews I've done during the last year into a nice booklet. I talked to self-made millionaires, early retirees, personal finance gurus, and I packaged it all up into this nice ebook called The Young Family Wealth Playbook. And it's broken down into 7 steps that will help you solidify your family's financial future. So you can check it out on the right side of my website at marriagekidsandmoney.com. And did I mention that it was free? Yeah, free. In the spirit of growth and inspiration, I'm going to end the show with a quote today from Oprah Winfrey. Forget about the fast lane. If you really want to fly, harness your power to your passion. Honor your calling. Everybody has one. Trust your heart, and success will come to you. Define your future today, my friends. Carpe diem.